Hey everyone, this is part one of a three-part Q&A with Georgie from Teacher's Friend Vietnam. Georgie lived and taught in Vietnam for a number of years and now runs Teacher's Friend, which is a kind of full-service recruitment and support agency. And we'll get into what that actually means later on, but for now, this first chat is going to be about what her initial visit to Vietnam was like and even what her first day was at her two schools. The first one being a private school and the second one being a training center. So if you're interested in teaching in Vietnam, listen and make sure to check out parts 2 and 3, which will be coming up next. All right, Georgie, thanks for being here. This is an exciting talk because I have spent some good time in Vietnam, but I've never taught there. And so it's really good to have you on to answer some of these questions for, I think, people that are considering working there. So thanks.
You're welcome.
First question, I'm curious about your history teaching and working in Vietnam, specifically what your first day was like and kind of what the school and the environment was with the students.
So when I first went to Vietnam, I went over there twice. So the first time I was teaching in a private school. So it was completely disorganized. I arrived and they said, okay, we're doing an assembly. So we want you to go stand up in front of 500 children and sing some songs, and then we want you to play a game. And luckily I'm a drama student, so I was okay at winging it. But if you're like a more reserved, quieter teacher, like it's a bit full on. And also the nursery rhymes in Vietnam are completely different to the ones. So like head, shoulders, knees and toes. In England you'd be like head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and
Yeah.
toes, and they'd be like heads and shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. And I was like, what is this? So like everything is like the same but different. It was very bizarre. So so I was doing all these songs that I didn't quite know and just kind of copying the other teachers, and then they were like, now get them to choose a piece of fruit and tell you what the fruit is. And I was like, okay. And they like thrust a microphone in my hand. This is kind of what happens when you work in the private sector. So it's all a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
So then I went straight into my lesson. I hadn't been told what age I was teaching, who I was teaching. I didn't have any flashcards. I didn't have any resources. I didn't have a book. I had to borrow the book off the student. I was like, can I take this book? Okay, thanks. And in the private school where I was working, it's mostly, they actually have a Vietnamese teacher who teaches them English.
Mhm.
So the grammar and everything. So what they wanted me to do was speaking and pronunciation. So that's why they didn't really give me anything. They just wanted me to go over what the students had already learned and just drill speaking and pronunciation. So it was very much, what's the word? Drill, speaking, and pronunciation. I've lost my train of thought.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, I
Did
forgot my
you?
train of thought. But basically, drill the speaking and pronunciation instead of teaching the sort of the grammar structure. So it's lots and lots of games. Basically, repeat it as much as you can without the students getting bored. So
Yeah.
that was the bad side. The good side was the students like loved me. They instantly, because you're a Western teacher, like they're really excited to see you. They're like, oh, they all call you like Miss Georgie. So they call you by your first name, which is very bizarre. So I was Miss Georgie for the whole
Yeah.
time. They loved playing the games, very enthusiastic. They were a little bit loud and rowdy, and a lot of the teachers in Vietnam will actually like give the kids a whack on the back of the head or like get a ruler and give them a tap on the hand, like nothing hard. But I was never going to do that, and they knew that. And so
Yeah.
that was really annoying because they kind of knew they could get away with stuff. And there was no teaching assistant. It was literally me with 35 kids, sometimes 50 kids, just going crazy. And it was a bit of an eye-opener. So when I went back about 7 months later, after I'd done some traveling around Vietnam, I went for a language school, which was a private language school. And here I had like a proper introduction. I met the other teachers. I went over the procedures. And again, that can be quite overwhelming in itself because they're like, here's the register, here's the class list, here's the course books, here's all the different levels, here's where
Yeah.
to find the resources. And you're just like, oh my gosh, I think even for experienced teachers, I taught a lot before, and I was like, I think my head's going to explode like with all this information. But within like 3 weeks, you're there, you know what you're doing, it's fine. And again, I had 2 teaching assistants for 18 students, and sometimes I'd have 2 teaching assistants and 7 students. So the numbers in the private language centres are a lot smaller. And I had other teachers who'd already taught my lessons or who were teaching the same as me, so we could bounce ideas off each other. There was a staff room, whereas in the private school, it was just me
Yeah.
and all these Vietnamese teachers. And again, I was given my materials in the language centre and told, hey, here's your materials. You'll be doing this lesson in a week's time, as opposed to, hey, do your lesson now, go.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any videos or interviews in the future.